Hopefully you're having a great day, and what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so go ahead, give me a thumbs up if you enjoy the content, and subscribe, become a bro if you enjoy the content. Go ahead and do that. Let's get this channel to 100 million subs. Sounds like a plan. Now, my eyes a little red, it's just this side. It's because of my allergies, my dog. I need to clean up around the house. I'm gonna do that after I edit this video. But what we're doing today is we're going to predict week 2's games in the NFL. We're going to predict the results, the outcomes. And week 1 was kind of easy to predict. And I ended up going 12-3-1. The only losses I had the Browns over the Titans, the Falcons over the Vikings, and I also had the Jets over the Bills. And then I had the Lions over the Cardinals. Ended in a tie, so I just gave myself a tie. This week's slate of games looks a little more tough to call, and it's going to start with Thursday night game, Tampa Bay versus Carolina. Jameis Winston looked terrible. He looked horrible. I know better days are ahead for Jameis Winston, but that Carolina defense, it didn't look great against the juggernaut of an offense that the Rams are, but it didn't look bad. They looked solid. So I got Carolina winning this game 30-17. And I'm just not high on the Buccaneers. Their defense looks a little rough. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a rough year to be a Tampa fan. And what's probably the most easy to predict game, we have New England versus Miami. I mean, Miami looked terrible. They look like a favorite to get the first overall pick in next year's draft, while the Patriots looked stunning. They might not even have Antonio Brown for this year, but I got them at winning 42-7. I don't think there's much Miami can do offensively. This defense for the Patriots, they looked really, really good. The Niners have to head to Cincinnati to face the Bengals, and this is a tough matchup to call because the Bengals looked very good in week 1 against a playoff contender in Seattle. The Zach Taylor's offense looked amazing. John Ross, where'd he come out of, right? Where'd he come from? While the Niners, their offense didn't look great. It was really the defense that won that game against Tampa. So I have Cincinnati coming out with a win in this one, 20-16 in a very tight, close matchup. Next, we have the Lions versus the Chargers. And the Lions, they blew their lead against a Cardinals team that wasn't very good. And honestly, the Chargers, they looked great coming out at the beginning of that game against the Colts. Down the stretch, they kind of had a tough time. But I think the Colts are still a good team even without luck. They're going to be a very competitive team. I think the Chargers have all the offense in the world. I don't think Detroit has a means to get to Phillip Rivers. I know, what was it, Kernard? He had like 3 sacks, but the tackles for the Arizona, they're not that great. I got the Chargers winning this 34-14 in what I expect to be a blowout win. Minnesota has to go to Lambeau to face the Packers, and this is another tough game to call because I think the Packers are going to be much better than they looked in the season opener against the Bears. And I mean, Minnesota just looked phenomenal. So in the end, it was a tough call for me, so I ended up going with the home team, winning 24-20. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to look much better. I think that offense is going to look much better. They're going to shake off some of that rust, and it's going to be a tie matchup. These two, they're going to be fighting for the division down the stretch. Minnesota also looks very good. And another tough one, we got the Colts versus the Titans. A very tough matchup to call because I think the Colts looked very good last week. They do have a pretty strong defense, and it's what got them back in the game. T.Y. Hilton is still a threat in the pass game, and I know the Titans looked phenomenal, but they really just capitalized on basically the errors of Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland had 18 penalties. Greg Robinson, not that he's a good tackle to begin with, he got ejected from the game, so they were down to backup tackles, and they just Cameron Wake feasted upon that. I think this game's going to be a lot closer, and I trust Frank Reich. I think Frank Reich is a fabulous coach, and he's going to coach this team to what I think is going to be a victory, 24-17. It's going to be tight. I think think Titans are going to come a little bit back down to earth, and I think we're going to see one of Mariota's kind of par to subpar performances here. In a game I'm not eager to watch is the Bills versus the Giants. I mean, the Bills somehow escaped despite 4 turnovers and came back against the Jets, while the Giants just didn't look good in week 1 against the Cowboys. I don't know how they're going to muster any offense that's not Saquon. So I have the Bills 24-13 in this one. I think that offense, they're going to be a little more mistake-free, and the defense looked very bad for the Giants. So I think Josh Allen's just going to feast here. Next, we have the Seahawks versus the Steelers. Another close, tight matchup, one that's really hard to call. I'm kind of find myself wavering on my decision because I ended up going with the Seahawks winning 28-24. Now that I'm here recording, I kind of think the Steelers are going to win. I think they're going to bounce back. I think Big Ben, I said this in my fantasy review, he typically bounces back from bad performances with QB1 performances. He's typically in the top 10 of quarterbacks in fantasy play following a very terrible performance. But I trust Pete Carroll. I don't like either of their secondaries, but I trust Pete Carroll to control the momentum of this game, and I think they're just going to take advantage. I think Tyler Lockett's could come out and have a much better game this week than he did last week. NFC East rivals face off, Dallas versus Washington. This Washington team looked very good last week against Philly. I mean, granted, Philly, once they got rolling in the second half, it was hard for them to stop, but the Redskins didn't look like the terrible team that I thought they were going to look like. While Dallas, they looked great. They looked great. Granted, it was against the Giants, but they looked great. So I had this game. I have Dallas winning it 31-14. I think the game's going to be a lot closer than the score indicates, but Dallas wins this one. Cardinals versus the Ravens, and I don't think this one's going to be pretty. I don't think the Cardinals looked good last week. They were playing a not great team in Detroit. They struggled in the first half, and granted, Kyler Murray, even in the second half when the offense started rolling a little bit, he still didn't look that great. The offensive line looked poor. The secondary, it's beat up. No Patrick Peterson, no Robert Alford. So I think Ravens win this one 35-20. I think the Cardinals are going to end up getting some garbage points near the end of the game. Gardner Minshew takes Jacksonville to Houston, and what could be an ugly game. I don't think Minshew, he's a rookie quarterback. Let's not get so hyped about Minshew just yet, because this is a very good Houston offense. Very good. Defense was kind of whatever, but they were facing the Saints, so I give them a mulligan on that. I got this game going 34-17 in favor of the Texans. Honestly, I can see this game being 27-17. Jaguars are driving to get another score to make it a one-score game, and pick 6. It's what rookies do sometimes. But yeah, I think Texans, they're gonna go ahead and they're gonna rebound from a very tough loss there against New Orleans. Chiefs versus the Raiders. This one's a tough one to predict the score of. I have no problem predicting the outcome though. I think the Chiefs win 45-20. I think it's going to be very similar to that Jaguars game we just saw this past week, where the Jaguars are going to put up some points, but it won't really matter because the Chiefs just put up too many points. This game was also tough to call because neither team really looked good. The Bears versus the Broncos. Yeah, the Broncos, they didn't look that great against the Raiders team, a Raiders team that's supposed to struggle. And then, I mean, the Bears, they just put up 3 points. I think Mitch is going to look much better against a very weak secondary there in Denver. I have them winning a close one, though, 21-13. I just don't believe in Flacco or this Broncos team. I think they're probably among the worst teams in the league. Yet they have a very good nucleus of talent. They're missing key parts. They're missing good quarterback play. They have an atrocious secondary, and I think that's what's gonna cost them the game here. And I forgot to include this game, but Saints versus Rams ought to be a banger. Might be game of the week. It's gonna be a great watch. And I got the Saints avenging last year's playoff loss, 31-28. You could really go either way in this game. Both teams are extremely talented and should be Super Bowl contenders. Another tough game. Who would have thought? Eagles versus the Falcons. I know the Falcons looked bad against the Vikings. I think they'll come out and look much better this week, but I don't think they'll win this game against the Eagles. I got the Eagles winning 27-17. The Eagles defense, I think they're going to destroy that offensive line that looked really bad last week against Minnesota. And the Falcons are going to score some points, but it's not really going to matter in this game. This game, I think, might be done before it gets started. And for the Monday night game, we got the Browns versus the Jets. I expect a big rebound from the Browns. Like I said, they really just shot themselves in the foot in that second half against the Titans because their offense wasn't looking too bad in the first half. The Jets just couldn't take advantage of 4 turnovers, and they couldn't overcome the Bills. They let the Bills come back. I think Cleveland's going to come out and they're going to look for revenge in this game. They're going to win 31-13. I think that offense is just going to look fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. That's it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. Hey, if you disagree with me, leave it down below in the comments and let me know why. Let's talk football. I love talking football. I'm a little uncomfortable with how many home teams I have losing this week. Oh well, it is what it is. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.